Afternoon, everybody. Can you see me and hear me okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can see me and hear me. Fantastic. Let's quickly, for a bit of fun, let's unmute everyone. Just make some noise, guys. Say hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hey, good day, good day.
Hello.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful,
Hello.
beautiful. Love it. We got people from about 8 different countries around the world, so that is awesome, guys. Thanks for joining us. I'll just go ahead and mute again.
Is it from?
Awesome. Great, guys. So thanks again for joining us today for webinar number 3, which is growing through acceptance, appreciation, and abundance. I really appreciate actually everyone taking time out of their busy day, whether you are at the office, whether you're working from home, whether you are just having some time off, wherever you are in the world. We really appreciate you being here on the call today. So thank you very much. For these next 90 minutes, I just want to contribute and share as much information as I can on how to navigate these uncertain times. And we'll be doing another webinar next week. So if you enjoy today, be sure to register for the one next week. And we'll be doing it every Wednesday for the next foreseeable future, however long that is going to be. So we do want a high level of engagement, please. So as we're going through today, I'll invite you at certain times to put some answers or comments into the chat box there. So if this is your first time using Zoom, just kind of wiggle your mouse around and you'll be able to see a chat function down there. And then, because we're going to learn from each other. You know, this is a challenging time for everyone, and so we had about 300 people register today. So we'll probably get about 150 or so online. And it's an opportunity for us to all learn together. And it's really great to see some familiar faces from people that were at last week's call. And I think without any further ado, let's jump in. I've got the amazing Coach Christy, who's my business partner, my life partner, awesome, talented, beautiful, amazing coach. And Christy's going to be helping me manage the chats as we go through today, especially when we do some kind of sharing and things like that. So yeah, let's take a look, guys. I'm excited about today's content. It's a little bit I would say it's a little bit more personal in terms of your personal development. And we all know, whether you're in business or about to start a business or in the process of changing from one career to another, we know that our professional development is linked to our personal development, and that's for sure. So some of these keys that we're going to talk about today, you know, acceptance and appreciation and abundance, that really starts with ourself first. And as we're able to master those aspects of ourself, whatever our goal is in terms of our profession and our career in the people that we work with, well, as we improve ourselves, we improve that ability as well. So I've got some slides prepared for you. I am recording the session as well, FYI. So the recording will be available for access on YouTube in the next 24 hours or so. If you do have to leave, guys, it's okay. If your boss is calling you or your wife or husband, then you can just leave the call, no worries. You'll be able to access it later. But I do invite you to stay to the end and let's have some fun together. So what we want to look at today, guys, you know all of this already for the people that have already joined us before. For the new people, Coachology. I've been a coach and a trainer for almost 10 years, based here in Bangkok, Thailand, originally from Sydney, Australia, as you may tell from the accent. Been living in Thailand for a total of 20 years now, 10 years in hospitality, now 10 years as a coach and a trainer. And these are just some of the companies that we've worked with over the last few years. And a lot of these concepts that I'm going to be sharing in these weekly webinars are also content I share with, that I also, you know, share with all of the clients that we work with all around the world. So please rest assured what we're covering today is really world class, and our purpose is to simply give some tools and resources to help you grow to the next level of that is, whatever that is for you. Cool. So a quick look at the agenda for today. I'm going to go really quickly through some of the key points that we covered last week. There was some really, I got some real positive feedback by email and messages from the participants who joined us last week. So I want to make sure we just cover the real key points very quickly. We are also going to understand our continued growth, and by continued growth I mean our personal development, our professional development, whatever kind of growth you're doing, that is the key and that is the secret to your happiness and to your fulfillment. How do we transition from resistance to acceptance? Why resistance keeps us stuck and in some level of pain? And how do we do acceptance? What does acceptance look like? How do we actually do that in this currently challenging environment? We're going to look at shortening the emotional refractory period. So what does that mean in English? Is here is an event and then we have an emotional reaction. Let's call it anger, for example. The refractory period is how long we hold on to that of emotion of anger, for example. If it's a long time, if it's a long refractory period, then we say things like, well, that's just who I am, or yeah, this thing happened, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or however long. Clearly what we want to be able to do is to shorten that refractory period so that when an event happens, we're able to express our emotion, right? It's not about repressing the emotion, it's expressing it and dealing with it and processing it. And then to be able to move through it as quickly as possible. So we're going to look at that. We are also going to look at how can we cultivate appreciation in challenging times. It's easy to say, oh, there's nothing to appreciate in this environment. We're going to work out how we can show more gratitude. The link between appreciation and abundance, right? That's the bridge. How do you want more abundance? We have to tap into our ability to show appreciation more and more. Yeah, we are also going to look at how we can develop abundance by focusing on what you want, and also looking at abundance in time and wealth and health. So that is our agenda for today. So moving through, quick turbo review. So last week we talked about change, this process that we're going through at the moment, this COVID, these lockdowns, this process of, the government's controlling the situation at the moment. It's simply a change process, and change by definition is make or become different. Of course, we want better than that. We want to make or become better. So that's what's going on at the moment, guys. The whole planet on a global scale is going through a change process. So it's up to us on how we deal with that. We spoke about this quote last week, so very quickly, between stimulus. The stimulus is that event, that situation, that's something that's happening to us, outside of us. That's the stimulus. Then we have a response. And between those two is a space. Most of us out there is zero space. And so something happens and we react. Well, it's up to us to choose our conscious response, to choose an empowered response. And in doing so, we tap into our power and our freedom. We are also going to quickly remind ourselves about staying positive. So that positive attitude is a mindset that helps you to see and recognize opportunities. It's really easy to fall into the trap of negativity at the moment, with so much uncertainty going on out there in the world. So your mindset is a choice moment by moment. So how you choose to think moment to moment will determine your ability to identify opportunities, possibilities, new options, choices, right? It feels like we don't have any choice because we're in lockdown in your condo, in your house, wherever you are, yet there is still a multitude of choices. And the more we can tap into our positive mindset, the more choices and options we can create for ourselves. We also, last week, we looked at the link between emotions and results. So our thoughts that we think moment to moment in synergy with our body language, how we use our body creates what we call our emotions or our emotional state. Our emotional state is simply how we feel in this moment in time. Why is that important? Is because our emotions will determine our behavior, and our behavior is simply our action or what we do. And of course, what we do will determine the results that we achieve in life. So we've all had the experience before where we wake up and we're in a low energy, low emotion. That results in kind of lazy or apathy kind of behavior, and then we don't achieve any results. Right? We've also had the opposite where we've been, we've woken up in the morning and then we've been in a highly energized state of positive emotions. Well, that results in more positive behavior, more conscious behavior, being more proactive, which of course is going to create better results. Yeah. So that's really important to remember. Why? It's because what determines how we feel moment to moment is the thoughts that we think and the way we use our body, right? Especially in terms of our, our physiology and our body. As where most of us are in lockdown now, it's easy to kind of, hang out on the sofa and kind of do some worky work from the sofa and kind of just, not worry about exercise and all those kinds of things. But it's super important, especially in this time, guys, that you do some form of exercise. It can be basic yoga, some kind of stretches. It can be meditation is a way to align your thoughts and your body. Go down a walk around the block if you're allowed to in your country where you are. So that's the quick little reminder, the importance, guys, of managing your emotional state. And we learned a very powerful coaching question last week. What could be good about insert the topic that you're curious about? What could be good about COVID? What could be good about lockdown? What could be good about the current situation? Our job is to always try and find the positives in whatever's happening in life. So this is a golden coaching question you can ask for yourself, or that you can also ask to your subordinates as well. Cool. So thanks for that, guys. I just wanted to kind of build on those, because those key topics that we just covered just now is really an important foundation on what we're going to cover today. And as we move through these webinars week by week, we'll be building on what we've already learned to make us more resilient, more resourceful, and more proactive in the way we move through these uncharted waters. So this was a good little picture that popped up on Facebook through the week. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it already. So this is actually been modified, not by me. I don't know who created this, but thank you to whoever created it. They normally talk about this is the comfort zone. So in the dark blue there where it says, who do I want to be during COVID-19? That's our comfort zone, right? So just beyond the comfort zone is what we call the fear zone. And what does that look like? It looks like hoarding food, toilet paper, and medicines I don't need. We've all seen the footage of trolleys full of toilet paper, complaining all the time, transmitting my anger and fear related emotions onto others. So we call that projection, right? So when we're feeling fearful, anger, anxiety, when we're in that fear zone, we have the tendency to project those emotions onto others. Now, if you're in lockdown with someone, a partner, a friend, a colleague, or whatever, and they're also in the fear zone, it becomes very easy to react to each other's emotional outbursts, right? So it's really, really important we transcend or move beyond this fear zone into the learning zone. What does the learning zone look like? It means I stop compulsively consuming things that harm me, whether it's food or the news, right? So one quick way to minimize the negativity is minimize your daily consumption of news items and COVID-related drama. I'm doing a little bit of research each day. 30 minutes is my limit to educate myself about what's going on in the world. And, again, I don't pretend to know how this started or where it started or the cause of it or how we're going to come out at the end of this. That's a bit of an unknown at the moment. Yet, whatever I read, let's choose 5G, for example. Some people are saying, 5G is the cause for the cells to mutate and cause this toxicity. I don't know, but I watched a very compelling YouTube video this morning that said, yes, 5G definitely was the cause. An hour later, I read another article that said exactly the opposite. And they both had scientific data and doctors and white papers and everything that could back up those points of view. So again, be mindful of what you do consume, and if you are going to consume something in forms of, not being ignorant, but to be informed, choose wisely and just know that whatever you're reading, it's someone's opinion. We don't really know what the truth is at the moment. And, we need to kind of take that information as simply that, information and data that may or may not be correct. Once you've had your fill of information and news for the day, then switch your focus back to what you can control. That's going to be the most important thing that you do, is focus on what you can control. Also in the learning zone is you start to let go of things that are outside of my control. I identify my emotions. So it's really easy to get triggered at the moment. And it could be from a spouse or a loved one or someone who is still in that fear zone. So it's a really good opportunity to learn and self-reflect more about ourselves and what kind of emotions are popping up. And more importantly, what are those trigger points that's triggering those emotions moment to moment? So it's almost like you want to be a detached observer, which we call in neuroscience metacognition. It's that ability to observe yourself, observe your thoughts, observe your emotions, and observe yourself, in the behaviors that you're taking. As we do that, then you begin to identify those emotions, and therefore you can manage them more effectively. Also in the learning zone, you make yourself aware about the situation and think about the best way to act. So be proactive. I verify information before I share it, if you decide to do that. And I acknowledge that everyone is trying their best, right? So regardless of what zone you're in at the moment, or your family or your friends or the people that you care about, please acknowledge that everyone is doing the best they can with the resources that they have. Some people are going to be in the fear zone. Some people are going to be in the growth zone. And wherever they are, we just need to do our best to respect and acknowledge that. Yeah, it's not about, blaming them or trying to put them down, that they're not as consciously aware or whatever. That's not what this is about. It is to have empathy and support for them during these uncertain times. And that's why we want to share as many tools as we can, so that you have these tools for yourself, but also for the people that you care about, your co-workers, your subordinates. Then finally, we move to the growth zone. Find your purpose. This is a good time for personal reflection. What is my purpose in life? What is the bigger picture? Is this an opportunity to move on to something new? How can I help others? Right? How can I use my skills to service the ones in need? I can show empathy to myself and to others. So you'll have a bad day. That's going to come up over these times. The cabin fever of being locked in a condo for how long? That's going to come up. So have empathy for yourself as well as the people that you care about. I live in the present so that I can then focus or create my future. I keep myself emotionally happy and transmit hope. I show gratefulness, which we're going to look at today, and I find ways to adapt to changes. Remember, and I've said this a lot in the last few days, there is no old normal. We need to create the new normal. I can't see that things are going to go back exactly the way that they were before this COVID. So it's really about creating the new future and finding ways to adapt to this change. And I practice calmness, patience, and I nurture the relationships and creativity. So I thought that was really relevant. I shared this with some of our clients through the week, where we're still doing online coaching and providing webinars for our corporate partners and clients as well. And this resonated with a lot of our community this week. So in terms of all of the information that exists out there, and when we talk about moving from the fear zone or the comfort zone to get into those other zones of learning and expanding and moving out beyond, the little green circle that you can see on the screen there, and I hope you can see that all okay, this is what we know, and this is what we know that we don't know, right? In other words, it's basically our awareness. And everyone has a different level of awareness or consciousness, or however you want to call it. But in that green circle, that comfort zone is what we know and what we know that we don't know. Outside of that, in that kind of unknown zone or that unfamiliar zone, is what we don't know that we don't know. And this is why it's so important, especially during this lockdown, which I'm calling a retreat. During this retreat, we actually have an opportunity to learn a lot of new information. Now, clearly the information we want to learn wants to be positive and useful and proactive and productive and aligning with our purpose. A magical thing happens when we begin to, get out of our comfort zone, move beyond the fear zone, and we have what we call a little breakthrough. And that breakthrough is like a paradigm shift. And as we break through our level of awareness or our level of consciousness, our comfort zone expands. We move beyond the fear zone into the learning zone and into the growth zone. So we learn something new. So now all of a sudden, what we know and what we know that we don't know. So for example, right, a couple of months ago, I had no idea what 5G was all about. I just did not know that 5G was even a thing. Then I heard about it, so I knew about 5G, but I know that I didn't know about 5G. And then just in the last couple of days, I've been doing a little bit of research so that I can be more well informed, not from a conspiracy theory point of view of simply gathering data, so I have more awareness of how it may or may not be affecting us. And so then I move into that unknown, right? So we every time we learn and grow, we move through those cycles of I don't know that I don't know. In other words, zero awareness. Then I know that I don't know. So I know it's a thing or a concept or a tool or a strategy or it's a something, but I don't know how to use it or apply it till finally I know that I know, right? And then so that's our process of learning and growth through the fear, the learning and the growth zone, is to be curious and to be open-minded about those things that we don't know. And as we become curious, we discover those things that we don't know, that if we did know, will help us on our journey. And then that journey continues, by the way. We learn something new, we have a greater awareness, a greater consciousness, boom, our boundaries have expanded. We're now moving into the learning zone. So now there's more that we know. We have a greater awareness about the things going on around us, the things that we can control. And then that journey does not stop. It doesn't matter how old we are, doesn't how many certificates or degrees or anything like that we have, regardless of our age or our level in the organization or the community. This process of ongoing learning and growing, it never stops. And in fact, at our core, this is my belief, part of our purpose for being on this planet is to continually learn and grow and evolve, right? Children know that. Children, they want to learn everything. They ask a lot of questions like daddy, daddy, mummy, mummy. They love to read. They love to learn. They want to grow. And children know that. And what happens though, as we get to a certain age, we think we have all of this knowledge or awareness, and then we stop to put new positive input in our brain. And so what happens after a period of time, we kind of flatline. In other words, our fulfillment in life, our happiness, our joy is a reflection of our continued growth. So said in another way, when we stop growing, our level of fulfillment will decline. And we've seen that in real life. I'm sure that you've all met someone in your travels that was, they had all of the stuff, right? They had the nice car and the big house and the husband or the wife and the kids, and they lived in a nice neighborhood. They had all of the stuff, yet they're still not happy, right? And oftentimes that is a result of them not continuing to grow anymore. So one way to maintain your level of happiness and fulfillment and to make sure that you're tapped into those higher, more elevated emotions is to simply continue to grow, right? And there's 1,000 different ways that we can grow: reading books, attending webinars, going to courses, TED Talks, speaking to some positive people. And that journey, ladies and gents, it continues on and on and on. It doesn't ever stop. So as an example of how I apply this into my life is, Christy, my wife, and I, we attend at least 3 or 4 different courses per year everywhere in the world, whether it's USA or Costa Rica or Singapore or wherever. We're continually developing ourselves because we know it brings us a deep sense of happiness and fulfillment. Plus, related to the kind of work that I'm in, the more I learn, the more I can share with our community and the people that we serve. So can you guys please, in the chat comments there, just jot down a couple of other ways that you can continue to grow and continue to feed this with positive information. I'd love to hear a quick couple of comments just in the next 60 seconds. What's your favorite go-to tool or technique for continued growth? Meditate, books, yep. TEDx, absolutely, yes. Read. Yeah, try new things. Wow, that's how, because remember guys, if we stay in this comfort zone, this familiar zone, this fear zone, call it what you want to call it. If you have a goal that you want to achieve, you want to get promoted, you want to start your own business, you want to create an amazing relationship, you want an abundance of money, whatever the goal is, that goal is going to exist outside of your comfort zone. Why? Because if you knew how to achieve it, you'd already have it and it would exist inside of your comfort zone. So therefore, any goal that you want to achieve, that next level of success, whatever that is for you, is going to exist outside of that comfort zone, that familiar zone, that fear zone. So that involves doing something new, doing something different. Anything different is going to help you to grow to that next level. Cool. So when we talk about growth, and what I would like to focus on here, ladies and gents, is this is going to be for your personal growth, right? So a little bit separate to what's going on out here with the whole COVID situation. And you may see the parallels with this, right? So we have basically 2 ways to navigate change. We can go through what we call an unconscious change process, which means we're not kind of consciously choosing the change, it just happens to us. Or we can consciously choose change and we can embrace change. So let's take a look at these 2 different models and see how it works in ourselves, in our personal lives. And I can share a story so that hopefully it makes a little bit more sense. So you can see on our little chart here, positive emotion is on the top side, negative emotion is on the bottom side, and then we've got time. So an unconscious change process, here we are, we're kind of going through life and we're not growing, we're not changing. We're thinking, oh, life is okay, I'm comfortable in this comfort zone, this is kind of nice, yeah, I think I like it here. And then we fool ourselves to think that will give us joy and happiness. But what happens, guys, over time, if we do not grow, if we do not choose to grow, what will happen is we'll begin to feel those negative feelings, those feelings of being unfulfilled, unhappy, sad, angry, frustrated, whatever it is for you. They are the emotions that you're going to feel if we don't change. If we just try to stay the same, not only does it flatline, but it actually goes down. So you have those kind of negative feelings going on in your body. Now, what does that create? That creates drama, that creates problems, that creates unhappiness. Now, a lot of the times, this is kind of almost like a fully unconscious process. We kind of know that we're not happy, but we don't really know why. And the reason is because we've decided to not change. We've decided to stay at the same level, fooled into some kind of happiness that, oh, it's in the comfort zone. Oh, it's so nice over here. So that's a trap, right? Now, what happens is that creates what we call pain, right? The pain of not changing, the pain of staying the same, the pain of regret, whatever those emotions are, it's going to create some level of pain. Now, eventually, with enough pain, that will create some kind of awareness. We might begin to be curious, like, why do I feel like this? What's going on in my life? And if we continue to resist change, if we're adamant that we do not want to change, the universe in its infinite wisdom will find a way to push you outside of your comfort zone. What do I mean by that? It's not a conscious decision you make. It'll show up as some kind of drama or some kind of event or something that's happened in your life, something painful that's like a nudge from the universe to bump you outside of your comfort zone. Now you're aware. Now you're present and you're thinking, what is going on? And then you get to a tipping point where the pain is simply too much. And you think, okay, all right, I need to change. Right? So it starts to bottom out a little bit, but you're still holding on to the resistance. There's maybe a little bit of shock about that drama that unconsciously pushed you out of your comfort zone. And that could look like losing your job or relationship breakdown or some kind of physical injury or some kind of drama in our life, something with the family. And so again, if we hold on to not changing, we're going to have resistance, and that resistance is uncomfortable, that's painful. We're going to be in some kind of shock or anger or denial. Then finally, when you said enough is enough, you'll get to acceptance and you'll say, okay, I surrender, I accept, I'm going to move through this change process. Only then, with that acceptance, can you now start to see some clarity? Can you perhaps see a light at the end of the tunnel? Perhaps you can see in the direction that you want to move? Now you start to be proactive. Now you find your resourcefulness, right? We've never had more resources available to us in this moment in history. So it's not about that we don't have enough resources. It's about how can I be more resourceful? And if you're in a company, especially in these times, it's about finding and doing some teamwork together. Then you can move out of those negative emotions back towards the positive emotion. So let me give you a quick story on this one. Many moons ago, I was working in Australia. I worked in the manufacturing industry, where my job was to pack boxes, and I did that for 10 years. And it was very comfortable. It paid quite well. I had a mortgage for a house. So I bought a house in Australia, just near Sydney. And I actually attended a personal development seminar. So my attitude changed, but my behavior didn't. In other words, I was so tight in that comfort zone that anything beyond that was a little bit scary for me. And so I knew that my life's purpose or my passion was not packing boxes. I knew that. And after the seminar, I was even more clear of that. Yet, even though I went back and I packed more boxes, my productivity actually increased. I was a better person to be around, but my heart was no longer in that job. I knew that wasn't my life's work. But guess what? I didn't consciously change. So much to my surprise, I got called into the office Friday afternoon and they said, Luke, you've attended this seminar and you're Mr. Positive now and your numbers have gone up, but we know that your heart is not in this job anymore. Today is your last day, you're fired. And so this was one of these events, these situations, unconscious, because I didn't plan it, where the universe pushed me and forced me to take that step outside of my comfort zone. And so I moved through that awareness and I got to the acceptance. And then thankfully, because I did have the tools from that workshop, I quickly picked myself up and then I went backpacking around the world for 1 year. So in hindsight, it was actually the best thing that could have happened to me because it brought me here to Thailand. But you get the point, right? So I wasn't changing. I was being stuck. I was in my little cocoon. I was, choosing not to change. And then the universe, an event, a situation forced me outside of my comfort zone. So this is what we mean by unconscious change. Now, let's look at the conscious change process. What does that look like? Well, here we are. So we're moving through life. We're feeling pretty good and we're kind of getting on with life wherever we are on that emotional scale. And then we have a target. We think, yeah, I want to achieve that outcome, whatever that goal is for you. And, you know now that you have to consciously and continually grow outside of your comfort zone. So I think, yep, I'm going straight for the target. Awesome. Now, in reality, when we do go through a bit of a change process, we are aware of the change, we accept the change when we're conscious of it, and it might be a little bit difficult. And so what do I mean by difficult? It might be you need to, work longer hours, you might need to form some partnerships or collaborations. So it'll be a little bit of an emotional roller coaster, but generally speaking, you're still in the positive emotion area. You're going to be proactive, you're going to be resourceful, you're going to tap into your resourcefulness. If you're working with a team, you're going to collaborate, communicate, and teamwork, and then you're going to get your results much more quickly, right? So in other words, while there might be a few little hiccups along the way, nothing major, and then you're going to stay above the line there. You're going to spend most of your time in positive emotion. So what does this all mean is at the end of the day, we have a choice. We can unconsciously choose and then have those events that we are unaware of to push us outside of our comfort zone. Or if we consciously choose to continually grow and learn something new and evolve and try something else and do something else, then we're consciously growing. And that fulfills a deep part within ourselves. Part of the core reason and our purpose for being on this planet is to continually grow and evolve. Children know this, we forget it as adults. So in other words, how do you prevent some of those surprises is by consciously growing and consciously changing and moving through these cycles. Yeah. Now, how do we link that to what's going on in the world out there at the moment? Don't know. I'll leave that to your interpretation. I have a few theories. Is the theory that as a species, the human race, we've kind of been on autopilot, just consuming and not really growing. And this is the way to kind of disrupt and force us out of our own comfort zones. Maybe. Time will tell. Let's see what happens in these coming weeks. One thing is for sure, whatever meaning we create out of this will be true for us. That will determine how we feel. So again, another thing that was floating around Facebook this week, so the things that I can control. So this is what I'm going to focus on: my positive attitude, how I follow the government CDC recommendations, social distancing, turning off the news, limiting social media, my kindness and grace, finding fun things to do at home, learning new things. What I can't control is what others are doing with the social distancing, the actions of others, predicting what will happen. Yeah, it's curious to entertain that, guys, but as soon as you're too far out into the future, we're not controlling what we can manage and control right now, right? Other people's motives is a little bit outside of our control, etc., etc. I think you guys get the point, yeah? So how do we shorten the emotional refractory period, right? So remember, guys, we cannot control every single thing outside of us. Between that stimulus and response, though, we do have a space where we can choose our response. So similar to the other graph that we were looking at before, we have our positive emotion and negative emotion. So remember, an emotional refractory period is how long we decide to hold on to that anger, that anxiety, that fear, whatever it is. The longer the refractory period, if it's done over a period of years, then we say that becomes our personality trait, that I'm just a moody person or I'm just an angry person. I've been like this for as long as I can remember. Neurochemically in the body, 2 minutes is the amount of time we want to be able to hold on to, process, and to release a negative emotion, in theory. Now, I know, it takes a lot longer than that for most of us. And here's the process that we can use to better manage this refractory period. In other words, our emotional intelligence. How can, when something happens, how can we process that emotion as quickly as possible so that we can get back to being and living in a more positive emotion, right? Because we know when we're in a more positive emotional state, we have more positive thoughts, we're more creative, we come up with better solutions, etc. So we have the pain, we're in the drama, we have those negative emotions, and we have the resistance and the shock and the anger at some point along the line. So through any change process or through any negative emotion process, there is a point in time where we get to a point of acceptance, right? And that acceptance can come in many forms. That acceptance can be a lesson or a learning from that event. That acceptance might just be, you know what, like, I surrender, I give up. That acceptance might just be, okay, well, yeah, it's outside of my control. There's nothing I can do about it. Okay, I'm going to get on with life. So with everyone and every situation that they're going through, when that negative emotion surfaces, at some point in time, there is a point of acceptance. We don't know when it is exactly. And so there's a beautiful coaching question that you can ask for yourself or for others, which simply is, right, because you need to get to that point of acceptance. The sooner you can get to that point of acceptance, the sooner you can move beyond the negative emotion, that resistance, that anger, that whatever it is. So the beautiful coaching question you can ask yourself or that you can ask others is, what needs to happen to move to acceptance? What needs to happen to move to acceptance, right? And as you ask yourself that question, and just be curious with what comes up for you. So for example, I was working with a client one day and he was really, really emotional, like quite in a traumatic sense. And almost hysterical. I didn't quite know what to do. This was many, many years ago. And I said to him, okay, what would need to happen to accept this situation? And then just out of nowhere, he says, well, I just need to have a conversation with my wife. I said, okay, so if you had a conversation with your wife, you could accept and move beyond this. Is that correct? And he said, yes. And in that moment, his trauma and his anger and his tears, everything that was going on just disappeared in a moment. Right? So experiment with that with yourself and experiment it with other people too, whenever they're going through a negative event or like that negative emotion, right? What needs to happen to move to acceptance? And then just let them come up with their own answer, because guess what? That's what needs to happen for them. Yeah, and it could come in a few different ways, right? What needs to happen to move to acceptance? Well, I need to, I need to speak to my husband or my wife, or I need to send this email, or I need to complete this project, or whatever it is for that person. Now there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Now they have a target. Now they have something to focus on. Remember, negative emotion, that refractory period gets longer and longer and longer when we keep focusing on the problem, when we keep, rehashing and going over the drama again and again and again. That's what keeps us stuck in that long refractory period. So by getting to that point of acceptance more quickly, it's kind of, they can let go of that. Now they can start to focus on a solution. They can start to focus on where they want to go, and they can start to be more proactive, more resourceful, and more working on teamwork. Yeah. So there's a few other tips, guys. And I'd love to hear from your tips now, please. What are some tips that you have for basically, getting to a point of acceptance, especially through a change process like we're going through at the moment? When we're going through some kind of, negative emotion, or negative event, what please are some of your tips on how you can accept the situation, what's going on? Please drop those into the comments section now, into your chat box. I'll just read off a few here, and then Christy will share some as well. You can ask, do I have direct control over that thing, whatever that thing is? If the answer is no, then just accept it. Let it go. Take a deep breath. Yeah, what else, Christy? Yeah, learn what could be good. That sounds like a great coaching question. What else? Yep, what is the learning for this? This is how we transform negative emotion. You can't just say, be happy. What we do is we learn the lessons. We learn, what there is to learn about that event or situation, and the negative emotion disappears. What else? Yeah, beautiful. Just understand what it is, right? Which is actually important, to understand the truth of what actually happened, and then what can you control. Give myself a good talking to. Yeah, sit down and say, now listen here, Luke. Yeah, absolutely. right? So as we can see, when please keep dropping them in. I've got a few more here. Please. Ooh, pain or pleasure. That's two things that motivate us, guys. Pain and pleasure at its most simple. Pain will get us unstuck, and that's what the universe knows. That's why it creates drama in our life, those surprises to get us and moving forward. Now, the choice then becomes yours. How long do you want to stay stuck in that pain, in that long emotional refractory period? Go for a run. Oh, go for a run. Hit a boxing bag. Let that energy out of your system. That's a great way to process pent up emotion that's going on. Have faith. Oh, have faith that things will work out for the best. Absolutely. Sleep. Yeah. Wake up in a new dimension tomorrow. I like that one. That one works well. Sometimes that happens with meditation. You go into a deep meditation, you wake up in a parallel dimension. But that's for another talk. We'll save that for the advanced ones. Yeah. So is that within my sphere of influence? What would happen if I just accepted or surrendered? Right. So if you did, and by the way, guys, by surrender, I don't mean to let people walk over you. I don't mean to just kind of like give up. But you got to choose your battles. You got to ask yourself, is this thing that I'm resisting, is it worth my energy? Is it worth sacrificing my positive emotion to feel negative for this event, for this thing or that person that just happened? So what would happen if I just surrendered and said, you know what? I surrender, I accept, I've got better things to do, right? So these are some really cool questions. Yes? More? Yeah, keep reading. I know you guys can see all of the chats there, so take a look. I'll read a few. Cry my eyes out. Hit a pillow. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So it looks like we're all on the same page there, guys. Embrace the change with a positive mindset. What could be the silver lining in this? This can be a really powerful coaching question. And what would need to happen to accept this change? So awesome, guys. Thank you for sharing. So just as we're going through here, so the sooner we can embrace change and kind of be okay with it, then the sooner we can just move on and begin to focus on the things that are without control. And we focus on the things that are without control, we create more abundance in our lives. So just like the seasons of planet, we go through seasons as well. There was no sound. Yep. Yeah, there was no sound for that, guys. That was just a little visual thing that I thought looked interesting. Okay, so appreciation. If you're on this Zoom call right now, you are seriously awesome. And I really appreciate every one of you for taking time out of your schedules to be with us here today. It's something I'm looking forward to every week. This is only the third full-blown webinar we've ever done, and it's a great learning process for me. And I feel like we're really building a community here to support each other navigate these uncertain times. So thanks again for being on the call today. And then let's have a look at why is appreciation so important. Here is a video, and there's going to be sound on this. 1 second, let me make sure. Let me know if you can hear this okay, guys. 1 second.
Research shows that adopting an attitude of gratitude, simply expressing appreciation and being more thankful, can measurably improve your overall well-being. For example, studies prove that gratitude can increase happiness, reduce depression, and strengthen resiliency. Grateful people often experience reduced blood pressure, less chronic pain, increased energy, even longer lives. People who purposefully express more gratitude report higher self-esteem than those who don't, and they're more likely to help others, a pro-social behavior also linked to greater happiness. People who capture grateful thoughts before bed sleep better than those who don't. Why so many positive changes? Because gratitude actually rewires our brains, kickstarting the production of dopamine and serotonin. Like antidepressants, these feel-good neurotransmitters activate the bliss center of the brain, creating feelings of happiness and contentment. This appears to be self-perpetuating. Research suggests that with regular practice, you'll train your prefrontal cortex to better appreciate and retain positive experiences and thoughts, and to deflect the negative ones. Here are a few simple ways to deliberately cultivate that attitude of gratitude. Celebrate minor accomplishments. Think about what you have rather than dwelling on what you don't. Tell the people in your life something you appreciate about them. Tell yourself too. Volunteer, hold a door for a stranger, or simply smile more, and you'll probably feel better, as kindness and giving are connected to gratitude. Similar positive brain changes can occur from regular meditation and mindfulness. Keep a daily gratitude journal using an old-fashioned notebook or a high-tech app. The science is clear. Give gratitude a go. You'll be thankful you did. Research.
Great. So as we can see there, guys, there's actually at the very end of the video there was a lot of scientific evidence and data and sources there on why appreciation and gratitude works at the neurological level. At its most fundamental, there's a part of our subconscious brain called the reticular activated system, or we call it RAS for short. And the RAS is looking for patterns out there in the world, and it's looking, and what it determines what you process and what you perceive in the world around you is based on your habits and programs. And the analogy is your RAS, your reticular activated system. Think of it like a bouncer at a nightclub. You've seen on the movies, there's a big bouncer and they've got a red velvet rope, and they can take the rope off and decide who goes into the club and who doesn't go into the club. Well, that bouncer is like your reticular activated system. You, your brain, you are like the owner of that nightclub. So you as the big boss, that frontal lobe, the big boss gives the instructions to the bouncer who can come into the club and who, you know, they put the red rope back on, sorry, you cannot come in. So whatever we focus on regularly with repetition becomes a program in our subconscious mind. And if we've been really good at negativity in the past, then we've trained, the frontal lobe has trained the RAS to let in those negative thoughts, those negative perceptions. So it's like the bouncer taking off the red velvet rope and said, oh, negativity. Yep, come over here. Oh, there's some negativity. Please come in. Oh, there's a negative post on Facebook. Yep, there's some CNN news or whatever that negativity looks like for you. As we begin to practice appreciation, you're literally rewiring your neural networks. And as a result, you, with repetition, right, what you're now beginning to do is the CEO, the big boss, is now sending new instructions to the bouncer. And those instructions are, I want to appreciate, I want to show gratitude, I want to be grateful and thankful, and I want to feel those emotions that are linked to being appreciative. Now, with practice and repetition, like it said, you know, writing a gratitude journal, 10 things to be grateful about, 10 things we appreciate in other people, you're conditioning the bouncer now to look for positivity. Oh, yes, that's a positive event. Please come in. Yes, you're a positive person. Yes, that's positive data. Please come into this nightclub. Come and join our party inside of our mind. So appreciation is a beautiful, elegant way to retrain your brain to look for more things to be appreciative for. So in other words, if you continue to focus on what you don't want, you're going to create more of what you don't want. when you begin to shift your focus by focusing on what you do want, well, the way to do that is to show appreciation for what you already have. So then subconsciously, your mind begins looking for more things to be grateful for in the universe around you, right? You'll begin to see opportunities. You'll see positivity. These positive videos will show up. You'll have positive conversations with the people that you care about in your life. And so appreciation is one of the quickest ways to develop that new neural network, so that unconsciously you begin to see more things to be grateful for in your life. Now, another really powerful way to do this, and again, guys, this would be more of a personal practice that you can try at home during your retreat. You can share it with your family and your loved ones. Is called Ho'oponopono, which is I believe it's the Hawaiian prayer of forgiveness. And forgiveness needs to start with ourselves. So what do I mean by that? When I talk about, acceptance, and when I talk about appreciation and gratitude, that person, when you look in the mirror every day, that's the first person that you need to appreciate. Every situation, every event, everything that you've overcome up until this point in time was you. You did that. And yes, we're in the middle of a change process on the planet at the moment, but I tell you what, if you can fall in love with yourself again, if you can get back to that source of creation, that love and that joy inside of your heart, if you can acknowledge and appreciate all the good that you've done in your how many years on the planet, then now you shift your focus and you begin to see those opportunities to be even more grateful and be even more appreciative. So it's a really good practice to start with yourself. You can just do it for a couple of minutes in the morning. You can do it for a couple of minutes at night. Really, really powerful before you go to bed. Once you've practiced it with yourself for a couple of days, choose a time frame, a week, a month, however long. You can also do it then with other people. So what do I mean by other people is, if you have a grudge against someone, or you hate that person, or you're angry with someone, that anger, right, that you have against that other person, that's basically a long that emotional refractory period of anger related to that person or that event and that person. The only person that feels that anger is you. And anger is like holding on to a hot stone. You're the one that feels the pain. They may or may not care about your anger, right? If you see them every day, they might kind of feel that, oh, why are you so angry at me? Maybe. But for most people, they don't care. They've moved on with their lives. So any anger or frustration or anything like that, that is in resistance, right? We're in that mode of resistance again. And by the way, that anger could be yourself. You got to stop that. We got to move beyond guilt and shame and, oh, I wish I had done this, or I should have done that. That doesn't exist in the present moment, right? So this is a very, very powerful process that you can use to forgive yourself, let go of any guilt or shame or anger towards yourself. Do that first, and then begin to practice it with other people as well. And guess what? You don't have to do it to their face. You can just do it silently, quietly in your room, out loud, just to let it go. And as you let go of that hot stone, you are the one that becomes free. And now all of a sudden, your ability to create and grow and spread joy and love and to be a shining light in your community dramatically improves. So let's take a look. It's very, very simple process. There's 4 little mini statements. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And you just repeat that with love and with kindness, and do it for yourself. How does it work best? When you do it in the mirror, right? So you don't need your husband or your wife or your kids around or your co-workers around. This is a very personal, it's a very private process for you to reclaim your own power. And as you repeat it softly and gently, and you know what I recommend is you do it alone. You do it in the morning, you do it in the evening time, and guess what? Tears might come up. You will release and let go of baggage and stuff that you've been holding on to for many a year. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Do it with intention. Do it with purpose. Do it in the present moment. Don't worry about what others are going to think or say or do. It's a private practice that you can do. Do it for a couple of minutes and then just observe what comes up. Use that metacognition and notice your thoughts. Notice your emotional state. And then what you'll notice as you move through your day, any refractory period that you had, for example, maybe you're really good at anger, you may find that your emotional refractory period, whatever that was, is significantly reduced in the moment, as those things that used to push your buttons, they now longer push your buttons. So this Ho'oponopono, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, Coach Christy, she delivers an empowering women workshop all around the region in Bangkok and Malaysia and Singapore and elsewhere. We did it in KL together, actually. We facilitated in KL with a room full of 300 people. So powerful. Tears of joy, tears of release, and like, oh my God, I've been holding on to that for so long. So that's acceptance, just accepting where we are at this moment in time, right? And it's appreciating how awesome you are to get to this point in your life right now. And then the only way is up from there. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Try it out. I would love to hear if it worked for you. You can always send us a message later and let me know how that worked for you. Now, I believe we've got some top tips for greater appreciation. So again, please guys, would you mind to drop into the chat box there? What are some ways or tips that you have to show greater appreciation, especially with what's going on in the world right now? Because it's easy to say, no, I want to be scared, I want to be anxious, I want to be annoyed, I want to be fearful. That's the bouncer has been trained to be like that, right? So we need to retrain the bouncer to look for and appreciate the beauty and the abundance and the things that we have in our life. So let me just share a quick couple here to get the ball rolling. Practice saying thank you to everyone you encounter with presence. So what do I mean by that is speak more deliberately. People are really good. Yeah, thank you. Thanks. Yep. Yeah, thank you. Cup. Yep. Thank you. It's kind of just a program. So you want to slow it down a little bit. You want to look for some eye contact if possible or appropriate. And this, you just slow it down a little bit and you say, thank you. I appreciate that. And that can be the person at the 7-Eleven store, at the grocery supermarket. Those guys are on the front line at the moment through all of this, having to work still and to serve us, every healthcare worker. Thank you. Come from your heart. I want you to feel it. And then as you feel it, they feel it. And you've just made their day a little brighter. Christy, what other tips do we have? Yes. Oh, God, what a great one. Stay at home. Do the health industry a service at the moment by not getting sick. Yeah. Or visualize people being healthy and successful. Yeah. Yeah, like look around you. If you're at home with your family right now, that means that everyone is healthy. That's a huge thing that you can be grateful for right now. Yeah, that deep intention. So do small things, do meaningful things for others. Hold a door open, you know, give a small gift, a small gesture, a kind word goes such a long way. But here's the thing. There's three main things that are going on when you show appreciation. Number one, you're creating a positive emotion inside of yourself, because I don't know if you notice, it feels good to say those things. Number two, you're training you're rewiring your brain to be more appreciative. So in other words, you're moving from negativity to positivity. And number 3 is you're making that other person feel good as well by showing your appreciation. And how much does it cost? 0. It costs nothing to show appreciation. Feels good for you, feels good for them. You're rewiring your circuitry to be more positive, so that bouncer is starting to look for opportunities and positivity in your environment. Couple more, please, Christy. Oh, noticing the nature. We're going for like a daily walk around the block at the moment. I'm seeing beautiful trees and flowers and beautiful building designs, things that I've never seen before in my backyard here. It's like amazing. Oh, perfect. Thank yourselves. Guys, if your heart is beating right now and you're able to breathe the air, that's something to be grateful for. Right? I opened 2 gifts this morning. They were my eyes, borrowed from somewhere I heard recently. Right? So compliment others. Yeah. Call you. I'm calling my parents a couple of days a week now, and it's great. Like, you know, they're in Tasmania, Australia. So, you know, thank your subordinates, your co-workers, your children, your partner, even more. So if you think you're already good at appreciation, do it even more, especially during this time. Yeah, that we have this retreat. The Wi-Fi, hello, can you imagine being in a lockdown without Wi-Fi? Oh, now that would be a new level of stress. We'd have to find another way to continue these sessions, but thankfully, thank goodness, Wi-Fi still works. Cool. Thank you guys for your contribution. I really appreciate that. So abundance. Abundance, the definition is a very large quantity of something. That's a pretty broad definition. And what does abundance mean to you? So we can have an abundance in time, we can have an abundance in health, we can have an abundance in money or financial freedom and security. We can have an abundance of food in the refrigerator. We can have an abundance of friends or family or whatever. One thing that's important to identify is what abundance means to you would be very different to what abundance means to someone else. And this is not to judge or compare or better than one or the other. It's just to be aware that we all have a different definition of abundance. And it's hard to create abundance in our life if we don't know what does abundance mean to me. So in terms of time, how much time do I want to have for myself? Or is an abundance of time mean to you being passionately engaged in your business, for example? Health. What does an abundance of health mean to you? Is that an abundance of muscles and a six-pack? Or is it an abundance of energy? You know, once upon a time, I thought I wanted a six-pack, and well, I decided that actually that wasn't true. What was more important to me was an abundance of energy and passion in my life. And when I think about my health, that's the abundance that I'm looking for. Having that abundance of energy that I can turn on like a switch, and having the abundance of time to be able to work when I want, chill when I want, and do what I want to do. Yeah. So that's what abundance means to me. And then it's the same with money, guys, right? So what does abundance mean to you? I can remember when I first arrived to Thailand, I left Australia. I left that box packing job, not by choice, because the universe kicked me out. And then I went backpacking around the world for a year. And then I arrived to Thailand, and I got a job working in the hospitality industry down in beautiful Koh Samui. Well, when I started that job, I was paid 7,000 baht per month, which is about $200 a month. Choose a currency, about $200. Yeah. Now, they fed me every day, so I had 3 meals and I had accommodation. And even though I was only earning 7,000 baht per month, I felt very, very abundant, right? It's hello, it was Koh Samui and a tropical island and all of that. Now, over time, though, my definition of abundance began to change. And I thought, I'm going to need more than 7,000 baht per month. And then so I created some new goals around the kind of financial abundance that I wanted to have. So over those 20 years since I've been in Thailand, from that first point to where I am now, my definition of what does abundance mean to me has changed over time. So it's really important, guys, to create any kind of abundance in your life. You've got to know what that means for you. You've got to have a target. In other words, you need to have a goal to need to know what is abundance mean for you. So as I'm talking here, see if you can, if you don't have one already, see if you can find yourself a pen and a paper. And I know many of you on the call, you've probably done SMART goal setting before. So I'm going to go through this very, very quickly, because I want to share with you the correct way to structure a SMART goal. In particular, how you can tap into your subconscious mind to use more of that power. This is how you're going to create more abundance in your life. So I'm pretty sure that most of us have heard of a SMART goal. There's a few extra distinctions here, guys. So let me help clarify that. S is specific, which I'm sure we've all heard before, but it also needs to be simple. So your SMART goal needs to be really short, sharp, simple, and specific. M means measurable and meaningful. So meaningful means there needs to be an emotional connection to your goal. If it's not meaningful for you, if there's no kind of emotional charge, then you're less likely to achieve your goal. Achievable and agreed, right? So if you're working on a team goal, the team needs to agree on the goal. Relevant and realistic. It needs to be timely, and it needs to be towards your outcome. So what do we mean by that? Towards your outcome means towards what you want, not away from what you don't want. And we'll look at a couple of examples here so you can begin to structure your goals. So as I'm talking through these, just write down a couple of goals in the different areas of your life. And then at the end, you'll do your best to make them a really correctly structured SMART goal. So according to science, and you can read anything by Deepak Chopra, Bruce Lipton, or Dr. Joe Dispenza, they're all doctors. The data shows that 95% of the day we're running on our subconscious patterns and programs, meaning that just 5% of the day we're using our consciously aware mind. And this is how we go through our day. So 95% of our day, we're running on a set of programs, beliefs, and perceptions that were programmed from the past. 5% of the day is like we have a flashlight looking to where we want to go. So typically when we're setting a SMART goal, that is a conscious process. Most people simply write down the conscious goal. It's a conscious process. You're aware of what you're doing in that moment. But the trap is the psychology of that normal SMART goal is that we're not tapping into that 95% of our subconscious mind. So we want to know, how could we unleash that abundance and use our subconscious mind? So what we need to do is we need to lock in that SMART goal into our subconscious mind. How do we do that? We do that with clarity, right? So what do I mean by clarity? You want your SMART goal to be really simple, really specific, really time bound, and you just want it to be crystal clear. You want it to be so clear that you could walk out onto the street, you could show anyone that your goal, and they would understand what that goal means, yeah? So the first one is clarity. This is how to lock in the SMART goal to the subconscious mind. You need to focus on it regularly. So most people, when they write the SMART goal, they'll write it down and they'll think, yeah, cool. And then they'll put that piece of paper down and then they'll never look at it again. And then they wonder why they're not achieving the results that they want to achieve in their life. So once you've written your SMART goal and you've followed the SMART, you want to focus on it regularly, at least once a day, and preferably multiple times per day, which brings us into the third step, which is repetition, repetition, repetition. So what do I mean by repetition is you look at that goal, you focus on that goal, you look at the actions for that goal, and you just keep that goal right here in your awareness. And with enough repetition, boom, it becomes part of your program, part of your subconscious mind. Let me give you an example. Remember when you learned to drive a car or a motorbike or whatever it was in the beginning? Or you were laser focused, and it was like, oh, and then but you practiced, and then you practiced, and you were really focused. You had the laser focus. You were looking at the gear stick, and you were looking at the road, and you had that clarity. You were getting some instruction from your mother or father or driving instructor. So you had the clarity and you had the focus, and then you did it not once, not twice. You did it again and again and again and again, and then now you're at the point where you can drive down the road, you can be sipping on your Starbucks and talking on the phone and changing lanes and doing all of those things all at the same time. Why? Because you've done it with enough repetition that now the process of driving is automatic. You've installed a program for it in your subconscious mind. So this is the exact same process you want to do with that SMART goal. Whatever that goal is for you, through that practice of clarity and focus and repetition, you lock it into your subconscious mind so that 95% of the day you're allocating resources to the achievement of that goal. Even when you sleep, your subconscious mind is ticking over and trying to create new ways of you achieving that goal. Now, if you do that in conjunction with your acceptance and your appreciation, that bouncer who's letting in positivity and opportunity all around, it's looking for ways for you to achieve that goal unconsciously. You don't even have to be consciously aware of it. Suddenly you'll see something and that'll trigger an idea, or you'll take that action, and it becomes a magical, magical experience of creating abundance in your life. So the reason why most SMART goals don't work, right, why they don't work is because they're not simple. So people come up with these goal statements that are like from here to over there. They also are not date specific. So what do I mean by that is oftentimes people will write a goal when we think about T in SMART, they'll say things like by the end of the month, by the end of the year, by the end of the quarter, or next month, or something like that. Now, the subconscious mind, that is not clear enough. That doesn't process at the subconscious level. So you need to be really, really specific when making your goals, that you have a date on it, which leads us to the third point, which is, second point, they're not date specific. So if you want it by the end of August, you write 31st of August, 2020. And then the third reason why most SMART goals don't work is they're not focused on, right? So again, they're written down and they're filed away somewhere, never to be seen again. So let's take a look at a couple of examples here, guys. And as we go through these examples, I want you to start to craft your own SMART goal. It can be for one of your goals, it can be for 2 or 3 of your goals, however much time you've got. So let's take a look at this one. I want to lose 5 kilograms by August. Is that a SMART goal, guys? Yes or no? No, that is not a SMART goal. Why? There's a couple of reasons why it's not a SMART goal. Who can tell me why it's not a SMART goal into the chats there? What's wrong with this goal? Why is it not a correctly structured SMART goal? Yeah, it doesn't have a specific date. What else? Yep. So also here, remember we said, it's not specific. 5 kilograms from what, right? Am I losing 5 kilograms from 100 or 5 kilograms from 80? Like it's really too vague. Now, the other third part that's important in this goal is when we say I want to lose 5 kilograms, it's actually moving away from what I don't want. So I want you to think of your goal, whatever goal that you're setting, it's like entering in the GPS coordinates into your Google map. You will never get to your destination unless you accurately put in the final destination. So what that means is if your goal is related to your weight, right, for example, you want to focus on what is your end target. What is your ideal weight that you would like to achieve? So let's do this one together. You can say now, I am 80 kilogram by the 31st of the 8th, 2020. So that presupposes, if we look at the language in that goal there, that currently I'm 85 and I want to lose 5 kilograms. As I structure it to a SMART goal, now I am 80 kilograms, right? So that means I have lost the 5 kilograms by August. It's just in the green there, it's much more SMART. And let me clarify one more thing there, and this is optional for you depending on how you like to work with your goals. You'll notice I put the word now in there. The reason I like to use the word now is when you say now, it's like a command to your subconscious mind, that 95%. So when you say now, it's a command and the subconscious mind is going, yep, I'm paying attention, I'm listening, I am, right? So I am means present tense. You want your goals to be present tense right here, right now, by the 31st of the 8th. So in other words, what you're instructing your subconscious mind is that any time between now and the 31st of August, I am 80 kilograms. Now, here's where it gets cool, is when you repeat this goal daily to yourself, you can do your ho'oponopono in the morning. You can get that state of centered and that presence and that acceptance and that self-love. Then you put a little bit of energy into this. Now I am 80 kilograms by the 30th of August, 2020. Yes. Now I am 80 kilograms by the 30th of August, 2020. Yes. As you do that with repetition, remember, that's how you lock in a SMART goal, guys, is with that clarity, the focus, and the repetition. So as you say your goal out loud, as you repeat that out loud for 5 minutes, then boom, you have created a subconscious program that's going to pull you towards the achievement of that goal. Yeah? So let's look at another example here. I want to be rich. Is that a SMART goal, guys? Yes or no? No. I love doing this at my live workshops when I'm in a hotel room. I say, raise your hand if you'd like to be rich. Everyone puts their hand up. Raise your hand if you would like more money. Everyone puts their hand up. And then I take a 1 baht coin and I go and give it to someone in the audience. And I say, congratulations, you now have more money. Is that the goal that you wanted? And of course, no, the answer is no. So I want to be rich. It's not specific. It's not SMART, right? So as we're going through these examples, guys, please, I want you to correctly structure your own SMART goal. And if you're willing and you want to share, you're welcome to pop it into the chat box there. I know some of your goals are personal. You can keep those for yourself. But if you just want to play around and see, and Coach Christy can give a little few suggestions or feedback on whether those goals are SMART. So let me give you another example here. Now I have 1 million Thai baht in savings by the 31st of July, 2020, right? That's a SMART goal. It's towards what you want, right? How do you measure it? It's really easy to measure. You look in your book bank, right? You look in your bank book and you can see there's the balance there by the 31st of July, 2020, right? So it's specific, it's short, it's simple, and that's how you would structure a SMART goal in the area of wealth to become more abundant in wealth. Now, here's the thing. Remember, it takes clarity, focus, and repetition. So again, as you say this goal out loud every morning, again, looking at yourself in the mirror, get into that elevated emotional state, then you'll be surprised what new creative ways that you'll come up with to create more wealth in your life. Final example, get promoted by the end of 2020. Not SMART, right? Promoted to what? End of 2020. That's how most people write goals, remember, especially organizations and corporates. The hundreds of companies I've worked with over the years used to write their goals like that. Now we make sure they're very, very specific, which might look like Now, I'm managing director by the 31st of the 12th, 20. Now, I'm a successful business owner by da-da-da-da-da. Fill in the gaps. Yeah? Make sense, guys? Yes or yes? Right? Awesome. So remember, you need to have the clarity, have the focus, and have the repetition. Lock it into your subconscious mind so that you are thinking of ways to achieve that goal even while you sleep. Right, so I hope you've got the structure there. I hope you wrote down a couple of those examples so you can structure your SMART goals correctly. Make your goal so awesome that if you achieved it, this will be the best webinar of your life. That's right. So let's take a quick look. I think we've got about 5 minutes left. So please, you can drop in some of the goals there. Christy will stay on the chat a little bit longer if you'd like some support on those goals. But also, please share with the group what are some of your top tips for greater abundance. And let me get the ball rolling by sharing a couple first. This first one is super important. The more appreciation you show, the more abundance you receive. So what do we mean by that? Is as you appreciate what you already have in your life at the moment, the universe will give you more things to be appreciative of, to be grateful for. So the more appreciation you show in the current moment, then the more you'll attract into your life to be grateful for. It's like the law of attraction. Focus, whatever those SMART goals that you wrote down just now, focus on 2 or 3 of those SMART goals every day. Right now, remember, we haven't even looked at an action plan yet. That's a separate step. We might cover that in a different webinar. For right now, I just want you to focus on those goals every day, and I want you to say them out loud with repetition, and then see what happens. See how creative that you can get, and come up with some actions easy and effortlessly. Here's a good tip: feel the emotions, the joy, the proud, the happiness, the excitement of already having achieved that goal. So in other words, don't wait till you've achieved that goal to feel a certain way. Start to feel that way now, and by the law of attraction, you'll begin to attract that new future to you. And again, that's we'll cover that in the next couple of weeks. That's a little bit deeper and a little bit more advanced. I want to explain and expand on the mechanics of that. We can look at that in future weeks' webinars. But for now, I want you to cultivate and think and feel those emotions as if you've already achieved it. Yeah, and just watch the magic unfold. Create a vision board. So a vision board is simply some images that is a visual representation of the goal that you want to achieve. The subconscious mind, that 95% of our brain, it has a different language than the conscious mind. And the language of the subconscious mind is emotion and images. So that's why we just said, feel those emotions, talk to the subconscious mind as if you've already achieved the goal, and have images that represent each of those goals. And as you focus on those goals with the clarity and the vision and the picture, now you're communicating even more to your subconscious mind. So now, even as you're sleeping, you're imagining that you having achieved that goal. Now, those images you choose, you can cut out magazines, you can make a family vision board, you can find pictures of Google images, and then you just put it in a PowerPoint, and then you save it as a JPEG, and then boom, you've got a screensaver as a vision board. What are some other tips that you guys have for creating greater abundance? Yeah, anyone have any other tips for creating greater abundance? Yep. Vision board is a big one, and you can set it up on your phone as a screensaver. On your PC, you can put it as a poster on the wall. What else? Yeah, guys, that's why we did it in this order. Acceptance, appreciation, and abundance. You can't get to abundance unless you can accept where we are in this moment in time with as reality, but then accept and appreciate all the amazing things that we do have right here, right now. Once you've done that, and remember, part of acceptance is letting go of the anger and the frustration and all of those other negative things. Yeah, do charity and help others as you give. If you believe in karma, most people talk about karma as being a bad thing, that if I do wrong, but wrong will happen to me. Well, if that's true, what happens if you do good? Do you think there's an opportunity that karma works the same way, that if you do good, you'll receive more good? I think so. Yep, affirmations. So affirmation is a positive phrase that you can repeat regularly. Just like repeating your goals in the morning, just like the Opono prayer, that is an affirmation. A simple prayer is an affirmation. Any others? Be patient. Mind mapping. Oh, mind mapping is perfect for when it's time to start creating your action plan and to create possibilities and opportunities and to get things out of here into the physical universe by writing it on paper or digital format. Celebrating every success daily. Beautiful, guys. So a couple more. Remove limiting beliefs and blockages. This is what I'm going to talk about in next week's webinar as a way to create greater abundance. So some of us have blockages that hold us back from abundance. So we're going to look at that as well as some tools and techniques. And a big one, guys, for greater abundance is focus on what you want. Right? This is whatever you need to do, write that in big letters somewhere. It's really easy to focus on what we don't want at the moment, right? The lockdown, the COVID and all of that kind of stuff, not being able to interact with friends and family. Okay, that's there. We just need to accept that that's the way that it is, and then shift our focus to appreciation and what we can control, focusing on what you want to create. Right now is a time of creation. For us, it's like I read it the other day. It's like we're in a cocoon at the moment. We've moved from this caterpillar stage. We're in this cocoon, in this lockdown, in this condo, and we have the choice to emerge as a butterfly into a new level of consciousness. It sounds like a good story to me. It motivated and inspired me. I thought, yeah, wow, what an opportunity to be reborn into whatever the world looks like next. Cool. Another way for abundance, guys, is when things are back to normal, please come and join us in Bangkok for the NLP 4-in-1 Leadership Certification Program in July. We also have the ICF coaching program in July as well. I'm sure everything will be back to normal by then. And if you're part of an organization, we have our Thrive online webinar series. So there are a lot of leaders who are still having to manage their teams and operate their businesses and achieve KPIs from home. So we've got a 4-module series. It can be 45-minute sessions or 1.5-hour sessions, depending on your company. You can ask your boss or HR to contact us directly. And yeah, we look at, being present, positive, proactive. A lot of the things that we've been covering in these webinars, fine-tuned to your organizations. We incorporate the values and the purpose and those kinds of things, and share some best practices, of course, of working from home. And remember, guys, it's up to you to be the change that you want to see in the world. Yeah, there's so much uncertainty out there at the moment, but we actually really have an opportunity to be that change that we want to see in the world. That change starts with us. You have 100% control over your thoughts and emotions. Start with you. Be that shining light that we want to see in the world. So thank you all very much. I'm going to unmute everyone so you can say goodbye. And thanks, everyone. Hope to see you next week. I'll send you details on that. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Chris is going to reply to some of those chats in there.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much, guys. You're
from
awesome.
Brunei.
There shouldn't be any conflicts.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
ตนเองนะ ก็มาสมัครใจลดเงินเดือน
Yes, and you want to know why this one will take longer
จะ
than
ได้ดู
last
คอนเน
time.
คกันมากขึ้น
Previous one that only the start Saturday night. Now it's
ใน
Friday
จอ
night.
ของนุ่นคำว่าในกับระหว่างมันติดกันหรือเปล่า
Obviously, because you see, initially we separated the window to a different window than the
เพราะว่า
usual
เดือน
window,
เมษา
right?
ยน
Because we
แล้วก็คำว่า
have to consider two things here.
เม
Number
ษา
one
ยน
is
และพฤษภาคมหรือติดกันได้เลยค่ะ
every month we
คือ
will
ไม่ต้อง
do
มี
the
เคาะระหว่างเลย
windows matching. That's for sure. But certain months
อันไหนก็อันนั้นก็แยกอยู่อ๋อเหรอแล้วก็ด้วยความเป็นเพื่อนร่วมงานในครั้งนี้หลังครั้งนี้นุ่นเคาะค่ะ